Jeff Abbott. We are in Yorktown, Virginia. Could you please spell your name out?
Jeffabbott.
Okay. And what do you do?
As far as music-wise?
Music-wise.
I play guitar in Bad Ace, a band I've had since 1985.
1985?
1985.
Really? It's been that long?
It's been that long.
Oh my god. That's awesome. Alright. When did you know that you were first, interested in music?
Let's see, 1977.
You were
I
how old?
was in 3rd grade. I decided to play the B-flat cornet.
Okay.
And I knew it was on ever since then.
Nice.
1979, I gave up the cornet and traded it in for guitars, but I knew once I started playing the cornet that I was going to play music somehow, some way. So,
that's awesome. Okay. And when did you first start playing in bands?
probably 1981.
Okay.
And I was 12 years old.
Wow.
Right here in Yorktown, Virginia. Yep.
That's amazing.
We put a band together to play our 6th grade talent show. And we played Devo's Whip It. That was our song.
Nice. Okay. What is your primary instrument now? What are you?
My primary instrument is
still guitar?
Electric guitar.
Okay. What other instruments would you say?
Bass. I play bass.
There's a huge drum kit right there. You don't mess around on that?
I mean, I dabble in drumming, but I'm not a drummer.
Yeah.
I mean, I can hold a beat. That's
That's about it.
That's about it.
Okay.
That's about it. No, I basically play guitar and I play bass.
Okay. Cool. Nothing else you want to pursue or anything?
If I had it to do all over again, I would have learned how to play the piano.
Okay.
But other than Jump and by Van Halen and Runaway by Bon Jovi, that's all I know how to play on the piano.
Okay.
That's it.
Nice. All right. For Bad Ace, would you say that you're happy with it currently?
Oh yeah. Definitely currently happy with my band. We just got to do another national opening act for country artist Jared Neiman at a private party this past weekend. So yeah,
nice.
We're still doing what we want to do.
That's good. Yeah. I don't know. Have you thought about doing any solo work or?
I mean, I still do my own music, still write my own songs, but no, I mean it's not something that I see me pursuing right now. I still have a good band that has a strong following, and we're doing great. So I don't see me out, reaching out to do anything else right now. I still fill in for other bands time to time if they need a player, but other than that, it's Bad Ace. Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. As for the future, would you like to work with any? I don't know, any local record companies or because I don't know if you're signed to a label or anything.
No, we have our own independent label.
Okay.
And it's Drunken Stupor Records.
Oh yeah.
And we are currently in Drunken Stupor Studio. And the crazy thing is there tends to never be a drunken stupor out here at all.
Good.
We don't do that out here.
Yeah.
not when there's music involved. We do that pretty sober.
That's good.
So.
That's good. What music would you say that you cover mostly? I mean, you write all your original songs and you perform those, but
rock. We're a rock band.
Okay.
And that means a lot of things nowadays. But we play rock from all genres of rock.
Okay.
Classic rock, southern rock, new rock, heavy metal, hair band, Motown, rhythm and blues.
Okay.
Some of the new country is kind of like rock these days, and we even play that. So,
nice.
But we're a rock band. You listen to us, you hear rock music.
Okay.
Even if we're playing a country song, it sounds like rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
So
sweet.
Other than Bad Ace, Bad Ace actually started as a band in 1984 under the name of Xister, which is Xyster. And a Xister is a surgical instrument used in ear surgery to remove the flesh from the bone of the ear. And we found that in Webster's Medical Dictionary when we were in 9th or 10th grade and thought, that's a great name for a band. A surgical instrument used to remove the flesh from the bone.
Okay.
But then we shortly changed to Bad Ace after that in 1985 and has been that ever since. Along the route, a couple of the guys have been with me pretty much since 1989. One of them is almost the original bass player. He's the original bass player from Bad Ace as a working band. We had a bass player before. We were actually working, just getting the band together. But the guy that's currently the bass player is the original bass player. And the guy that is now the singer, he used to be our drummer. And that leads me to other bands. With this other guy, the drummer, Richard, we played in another band that was a rock cover band called Oasis, not the big Oasis. We were Oasis before they were Oasis, and they became Oasis after we had already disbanded. That was a 1989 era thing. And he comes from a family that runs a musical theater over in Matthews, a country music theater. And so him and I played in another band that traveled up and down the East Coast called Tanya Rose and Street Talk. And then him and I left that band. And all the while this was going on, we still had Bad Ace. We still played as Bad Ace when we were in town, when we weren't on the road with Tanya Rose and Street Talk. And then when we left Tanya Rose and Street Talk, him and I joined his sister's band, which was Linda Smith and Livewire, and basically did the same thing. Toured up and down the East Coast, still kept Bad Ace local for the classic rock flavor. These other bands were basically country bands. But with Richard on drums and me on guitar, there was always that kind of rock edge. I can play any style, but my tone is kind of a rock tone. And that's, I don't go away from that very often, so it always gave us a different edge. And then eventually, Linda and I, when the band, Linda Smith and Livewire, didn't continue on, we decided it was time to, disband it, mostly because Richard and I were always busy playing with Bad Ace. That was pretty much the case with both of these bands, Tanya Rose and Linda Smith. Her family has the country music theater, and they needed a sound man one night and asked me if I'd come run sound. I ran sound for a couple years for them after their sound man finally quit. And then they needed a rhythm guitar player in the Donks Shades of Country band, which was the house band. It's a show kind of like where there's one band and multiple singers come up. One singer comes up, does 2 songs, another singer comes up, does 2 songs. And the show went on every 2 weeks, so we'd have to learn 35, 40 new songs for every show. Sometimes the songs would get duplicated, but for the most part, we were learning all new material
Oh, wow.
every couple weeks to do a show. Well, after a few years of playing rhythm guitar in that band, I became the house bass player. To drop back and punt just a little bit, when I started playing the B flat cornet, when I gave up the cornet, I gave that up to play bass guitar.
Okay.
That was my first stringed instrument, was the bass guitar. And I actually learned how to play bass guitar and read bass clef music. From there, I decided to move from bass to six string electric lead guitar, or whatever, just regular guitar. And never looked back at playing bass, but I still always played just because it was something I like to do. So when I was asked to play bass, I was like, yeah, I can do that. So I became the house bass player from the rhythm guitar player position, because they needed all these songs every couple of weeks. We didn't always have time to memorize them, so we always wrote hand charts, and not necessarily wrote out musical notes on a staff, but would count things out and measure and just write down the root. And we used the number system, and instead of putting down alphabet letters, we put down a number system. And this, the scale, a basic scale is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Octave to octave. And so if a song was G, C, D, from measure to measure, that was 1, 4, 5. Then if you throw in the 6 minor, there would be a 6 minor there. And we never wrote out in letter form, because we learned these songs and we'd have a number chart. And if the person coming up to sing the original album or song was in the key of A, if the person came up and said, hey, that's too high or that's too low for me, we wouldn't have to worry about looking at that chart and not being able to follow it, because it was written down, G, C, D. We could go, it's 1, 4, 5, and she needs to move it up a whole step from G to A. Our 1, 4, 5 is now A, D, and E, without having to change the letters on the page. It's just the same number. So if you know where the numbers go, so over the years of writing charts like that,
it got easier
over 13 years, well, what I developed is what I call the Library of Congress.
Okay.
I have like 14 or 15 3-inch binders with plastic laminate sleeves in them, 2 songs in, facing each way, alphabetical order of all charts, like 2,500 charts of tons of songs. But so I did play bass for that, and I did that for 10 years, and then I finally put in my resignation for that, because my audio engineer career started to take off, because that's also what I do. Besides play music, I'm an audio engineer, and I do that for music, sports, television, anything. And so I kept with Bad Ace, but I had to resign from the Donks Shades of Country band, and it's an old movie theater in Matthews County. They converted into this country music theater, and my last show there was the last show ever in that building.
Really?
Because before the next season could start, because I gave my notice to finish the season, and the season runs from late February to the first week of December, 2 weeks every year. And so during that two-month period where we weren't going to be performing in there, there was a big snowstorm, and the building was very old. And with the amount of snow on the roof and the high winds that they had, the building collapsed.
Oh my gosh.
And so there was never another show in that building. So they started moving the show to once a month, and they would use the Matthews High School.
Okay.
Which Kyle, my son, was also the house drummer there for 2 years. And Leanne, my daughter, still sings on those shows still to this day. And they have their first show of the year coming up this Saturday.
It was awesome talking to you, Jeff. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, man. Anytime.